Hi, it's Jez here from Nigezza.co.uk. Thanks for joining me today. So today I'm going to bring you a card I made for the Ink Stamp Share blog hop, and it was just this simple little card. I'm going to give you two versions of this today. I've used the Flower Market die to make this, which is a large die. And I have simply cut it out, added a ribbon and a sentiment. Couldn't be simpler. Thought this might make a nice wedding card as well, and you could choose the colours of the wedding theme for it. But I turned this into a birthday card. Now, you may have overlooked this, as I did, but it is a standalone die. There on page 163. This single die, and there is just one picture of it in the catalogue, and there's a little sneak peek of what I'm going to show you how to do in a sec. And in there it is there with a box. So that was one idea I had when I first saw it without looking in the catalogue, but I thought let's make a card today. Okay, so I have cut a bit of thick whisper white, basic white, and I've cut it down to 5.5 inches, scored it in half at 4 1/8 to give us our card blank, because that makes it a better size. If we had the UK usual C6 card of 5 7/8, it'd be too long. So that's what I did, and then I'm going to show you some die cutting because it is, I think, better if you see it. So that will sit like so, and I'm just going to place that on my card. Now I have got a magnetic plate, so holding this in place is easy, but if you haven't got a magnetic plate, then you'd maybe want to put some washi tape on that to hold it in place, and then we'll just run it through. And I did go backwards and forwards a couple of times just to make sure that all the bits were cut out. So we just pull that up, we can have a look at the other side, and we can see that that has cut fine in there. And I don't know if you can see, but there are slight indentations in some of these, and I have been keeping these because I've got a little bit of an idea of what to do with the stuff that gets cut out, but that's for a future video. Now, to remove these, you can use a pokey tool, or you can use a little die brush. So run that over, and out they come. And then we can finish off the last bits with our pokey tool. So there, that's them all done. I will deal with those afterwards. So let me straighten myself up a bit. So I'm just going to take my bone folder, and then let's just give that a really good burnish so it stays flat. And then what I did was I took a ribbon. So this one's Gorgeous Grape. I'm going to use Fresh Freesia for this one. And I just went for a little bit in here where there was maybe two fairly close together. I've actually cut this a different way, but it doesn't matter. This kind of shows that they both work, so I'll just choose two there that are fairly close to each other, feed me ribbon in, tie a bow. So that's that bit complete, and then to do the sentiment I'm using Happy Birthday from Artistically Inked, and I've got that mounted. I've got a little 1/2-inch strip here of Whisper White, and I'm going to just stamp in Fresh Freesia and hope I get it straight. So I'm going to put that on my grid mat, line that up. I'm quite happy with that. It's a little bit lower than I would like. I'll maybe try it again. Excuse my head. That's better. That's the trick. Get your head over it. So then we're going to use this lovely label punch. I've forgotten which one that one's called. We have 3 label punches like this that do it in the 1/2 inch, the 3/4 inch and the 1 inch. And this is treasured tags. So I've got the lovely label, and then I recently bought the treasured tags. There is also the banner pick a punch as well. And so I am going to use my little templates that I've made for these. You might have seen me use my templates before. I used them, I made them for the lovely label pick a punch, and I made some for this, and they work in exactly the same way, so that I'm able to judge where this is going to be cut off and decide how far away from the word I want that to be. So I now know that when I pop that in and cut it off, it is going to be exactly where I want it. Takes the guesswork out. That's my Happy Birthday. And then I've cut a 3/4 inch strip of Fresh Freesia. So we'll cut the one end like so. Gonna put my Happy Birthday on there. Want it about there. So now I can take my template, place it that side, have the same margin that way, and then that is where I'm going to cut this off, so that will punch out exactly where I want it. So that will go, got a little bit there, so that will go up there, the right side, Jez. And put it in its right. And there we go. That is now cut, giving me the matting that I wanted. So they do, takes 2 minutes to make. I have got a video on it, making it for the other punch, but it made them in exactly the same way for this one. So a little bit of Tombow, stick this down. And I just like I liked the fancier ways that these looked. Just give you a different sort of look. And then that can go in there. And I imagined it there. And then I looked behind to see where I could put some dimensionals. And I'm using some mini dimensionals. And so one can go on that flower. We can have a little one there and a little one there. Let me just double check where the other one's going. Kind of going next to that star, so I'm going to snip a little bit off for that. So we can put it there, take them off. And that is how I made this. But then I thought, by doing that, you can't write on that side. You would have to write on the back. So maybe you want to add a little panel. So I made this panel, which I thought would go lovely behind. And then that way you can write there. There is a little bit marking on the back side of it, but I didn't think that mattered. I thought that sort of added something to it. This would equally go behind that one as well, because I've used a mixture of colours in it to make it. So I have used Gorgeous Grape, Highland Heather and Fresh Freesia. So what I've done is I'm using large acrylic block. You could use, if you've got a glass mat, silicone mat, anything really like that, but I'm using this. I've got a bit of Whisper White cardstock. So this is just 1/4 of a sheet. It's going to be slightly bigger than we need, but that's okay. We can trim it down. So I just took my ink pad and put some ink down on here. The 3 colours. I kind of, because I recently did the vellum and blends sort of technique, I wanted to have that sort of effect, but I wanted to do it on cardstock, and it doesn't work on cardstock. I tried. So then I'm taking a little bit of, I've got some 99% alcohol in here, and I'm just squirting it over my acrylic block, and then I've got a nice wide paintbrush, and I'm just dabbing it around. And then I'm just taking a piece of paper and just laying it down. And you can see some of it comes through, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to peel it off. So we get that sort of effect with it. You can pick up some more colour on the edges if you missed bits. Gives you a different effect. Or you can leave it as the one sort of pool that you've got. Okay, and then that just gets, I just wipe that with a cloth. And that just comes off quite nicely. I've got a nice clean block again. Okay. So that is bigger than we need for our sheet. So I'm just going to trim it down because it's 5.5 by 4.25. So that can be trimmed down to 5.5. So I'll take a bit off both ends. So I'll take that bit of white off. That's why I wasn't bothered by that. So I'm going to go a 1/16 shorter than 5.5, and it is the right width. So when we get our card and we put that under there, that fits, but I want to take a bit off because it needs to be slightly shorter because of the way that that is folded. So I'll do a 1/16 off there, check if that's enough. That is enough. Taken off to go behind that, and I think that looks really, really pretty. Now you can, if you want, if you think that there might be some bits where there's white and you'd rather it was a deeper colour, just going to switch this over, then you can come back in with some colour. I'm going to come in with the Fresh Freesia and just use my blending brush to just fill in some of those white gaps that we've got. Just to give a deeper richness there. You get a different effect than you would. You could have done this rich with water. You get a completely different effect if you do it with water. I quite liked the effect with the alcohol. You get a less muddying that you can get doing it with water. And it dries really, really quickly, and with water it tends to curl as well. And I think that's quite pretty on the other side, so it doesn't bother me that it has that. Okay. So that is now ready to go on the inside, and you've got a little bit of an ombre effect going on there. So we've got the lighter to darker. You could choose to go the other way, so you've got the darker to lighter. It's entirely up to you. what you've created is quite unique. I'm liking it that way. So then we're just going to dot ink on the back here where there is blocks of cardstock. I'm using my fine nibbed little glue pen here. Fill it in. And then I'm just going the other side of that score line. And then going down. And that is another way of using that die. That looks slightly not straight, but it doesn't really matter. There we go. So that is it without a background, and that's it with a background. I think they're both pretty, and you could add some pearls to it. We've got these pastel pearls that we've got in dark and light, Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape, which might look quite nice on here. I think that's them all. So that is another way of just adding a little something to the card. So plain and simple, or adorn it with ink and pearls. So hope you like that. And I'll bring you some other ideas using this die as well. I think it's really, really pretty and quite easy to use, and you quite simply put together a nice card. You could just put plain cardstock behind that if you wanted to. That would have also worked without doing any of the colouring. You could have just put plain behind. Obviously you'd have chosen Gorgeous Grape actually with that one, but you get the idea. Whereas I quite like it where you've got the variant of colour. Okay, hope you like that. All the details will be over on my blog. I'll link to the original blog hop as well, so you can see what everybody else has made. And I'll be back again with another video very soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe.